My husband laughed and said, "You will never be able to prove this affair." His family stood by his side. I stayed silent 4 months. Until his mistress walked into the court carrying the bag I had bought. The judge asked one question. And his smile vanished. He laughed. He really laughed. In that small courtroom, where the wooden benches creaked like an old church, my husband laughed and said, "You'll never be able to prove this affair." His parents were sitting behind him, like they were supporting their team at a football game. His sister rolled her eyes, as if I were putting on some pointless drama. I didn't say anything. I hadn't said anything for months. Silence had become my only shelter. When he started locking his phone. When he justified coming home late by calling it overtime. When money started disappearing from our joint account but the bills still came in my name, I stayed quiet. I told myself maybe I was just exhausted. Maybe it was the pressure of debt. Maybe he was broken too, just like me. I was working 2 jobs. A grocery store during the day, a nursing home shift at night. Rent, health insurance, my mother's medications, everything was on my shoulders. He kept saying, "Just give it some time. Everything will be fine." That day in court was my first response, and it wasn't even in words. I looked at my lawyer. She simply nodded. My husband smiled again and looked toward the judge, like this was just a formality for him. His father stared at me with his arms crossed, as if I were committing a crime against the family. Then the door opened. She walked in, the sound of her heels echoing through the room. She was carrying a large bag. Leather. Brown. The same bag I had bought 2 years earlier at a mall, with my tax refund. I had never taken it back because my husband had called it an unnecessary expense. Now that bag was hanging from her arm, and she was smiling without a care in the world. My husband's laughter paused for a second, but he recovered quickly. Maybe he thought it was just another coincidence. But the judge's eyes lingered on the bag. The judge asked calmly, "Is that bag yours?" The woman replied, "Yes. My boyfriend gave it to me as a gift." The air in the room froze. My husband's father sat up straight for the first time. The judge looked at me. I opened my purse, my hands shaking but my voice silent. I pulled out the receipt. The same date. The same store. The same bag. In my name. I didn't say a word. I just handed the receipt forward. The judge asked another question. "Do you know whose money was used to buy this bag?" The woman's smile vanished, like someone had flipped off a light switch. In that moment, I realized for the first time that I wasn't alone. During those months of silence, I had seen everything. I had saved bank statements, the days he said, "The car broke down," but the money went to a hotel account instead. I had sacrificed my sleep, but not the evidence. I had swallowed my anger, but not my memory. The courtroom didn't explode into drama. There was no shouting, no dramatic confession. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that settles in your bones. My husband stared down at the table. His lawyer whispered something to him. His mother's face had gone stiff, like she was trying to hold herself together. His sister avoided my eyes. When it was over, his family didn't say a word to me. They walked past as if I were invisible. His sister looked like she wanted to say something, then thought better of it. My husband never looked at me. I didn't get divorced that day. There was no movie-style victory, no applause, no instant justice. But I got something I had lost years ago, my truth. I went back to my apartment and sat on the floor, staring at the stack of bills on the table. Nothing had magically changed. Rent was still due. I still had to work. My life was still heavy. But I had changed. The next week, I talked to my supervisor at the nursing home. I asked for a full-time position. I had never asked before. I was always afraid of being told no. This time, I didn't apologize for needing more. They gave me the position, along with better health insurance. It wasn't a miracle, but it was stability. A neighbor I barely knew, someone I had only ever nodded at in the elevator, asked if I could help watch her kids in the evenings. It wasn't much money, but it was honest help. Small things started to add up. Not luck. Just people responding to someone who finally stood firm. Some nights, I still wake up. His laughter comes back to me, sharp and careless. But it doesn't crush me anymore. It reminds me of something important. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes, silence is a strategy, when it's backed by truth. I didn't take revenge by screaming. I didn't destroy him with insults or public scenes. I waited. I collected receipts. I let one question do what months of arguing never could. There are days I still feel tired. I still work long hours. My mother's medications are still expensive. Life didn't suddenly become easy just because the truth came out. But I no longer feel invisible. I no longer feel crazy for noticing things that didn't add up. I no longer shrink myself to keep someone else comfortable. When I look in the mirror now, I don't see the woman who was told she could never prove anything. I see a woman who survived being ignored, doubted, and dismissed, and still stood up when it mattered most. A woman who didn't need to raise her voice to be heard. A woman who walked into a courtroom with nothing but silence, and walked out with her story finally on record. And that, I've learned, is its own kind of victory.